Obviously, they've been running the ball a little bit more this year than last year. What do you see from their offense and it's kind of the changes they've made?
Right. It was unusual because we actually watched that game when I first got here. And, with the quarterback they had last year, obviously they were very good at throwing the football and didn't run it near like they're running it now. And so to see the way they have become a whole lot more balanced offense, and they are running the ball very well. I think you take out their totals from like the first 3 ball games, which they played 3 really good football teams, and you go to our in-conference games, you can see how they've moved the ball well. So it's going to be a big challenge for us Saturday night or Friday night. Make sure we get there, huh? Friday night, I think if you want to compare, I would compare them a whole lot to Nevada.
They always seem to have good offensive linemen down there. Anybody in that group that caught your eye?
Well, I think the whole group, when you look at them, a lot of experience. They got 4 starters back off of last year's football team that are playing. And they have, I think they've become more and more physical each week as you look at their confidence in their playing. And so the quarterback's able to operate a little bit better. They've given up a few sacks, but, last week, I don't think they gave up but 2 last week.
Talking to the guys this week, said bye week all about fundamentals, and you play 6 in a row like you guys did. The guys start to, some of those bad habits start to creep in a little bit as you get through the
exactly.
weekend.
And I think that, we had a good week, and that's what we really harped on and really talked about and worked on the hardest. Especially the 4 practices going into game prep, as we focused on that, and it should show up that we are back to the basics, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
The last couple of games, you guys given up 3 or 4 big runs. Hadn't given up any before that. What did you see that maybe was slipping a little bit?
Well, I think it's exactly what we talked about the other day. The thing that you got to have gap discipline, and as soon as one guy gets out of his gap and they're able to find it, then you're in trouble. The thing that we've got to do is hopefully we'll play hard enough if there is one of those mistakes, we'll end up making the play. And it wasn't that we was never wrong the ones before, but we had enough people around the football that we were able to make up for each other's mistakes. And I think that's what we got to continue to do, because you're not going to be 100% all the time. But we need to be better than we were, obviously, the last game.
How have you seen Kamale improve since you've been here? And I think a couple of weeks ago, Yates said that he's a different animal from when he arrived, from spring until now.
Well, I think that's 100% right. In the spring, he was completely, his body was completely different. And I think the more you've seen him, the more we see him play, the better he's getting. I mean, he's becoming just a natural football player. Even just like we were talking about, he might not do everything perfect, but he makes a lot of plays out there. And I think he gets more and more comfortable with the position and the things that we're asking him to do, and we're putting him in situations because we know we can depend on him to make plays.
Kind of depending on him on that note, I know he's only a sophomore, but like you see him at Nevada, and he's kind of the guy in the center of the circle. And I mean, how much of a leader is he becoming as well out there?
I think the more confidence he gets, which he's getting, obviously because he's making so many plays, more and more confidence, and he's becoming more boisterous, and that's what we want him to do. We want him to do. And when something goes wrong, he wants to know what happened. And so I really appreciate that.
Bo was saying that it seems like he learned somewhere along the way that Kamale feeds off of energy, and so if he brings energy, it sort of helps him through. You've seen that transformation?
Exactly. I think the whole defense actually is that way. When you watch us, when we're playing well, and everybody's getting excited, then I think we feed off of each other. And you talk about the defense, but I think really when you look at our whole football team, if one side's doing well, then the other side gets pumped up too, and that's the way it's got to be. You got to feed off of each other all the time.
What is it about his ability that allows him to play that position? I mean, as you said, his body's changed, and he's a little heavier, but he still plays that position.
I think he's very athletic. He's very athletic, so we ask him to play that outside linebacker, you want to call it that, and he just is able to make plays in space, and at the same time he's big enough and strong enough that he can put his hand on the ground, or we can bring him off the edge, and he's a full load for one of those offensive linemen to try to block.
I think Hurst had said that he was okay in spring ball, and then all of a sudden in fall camp something changed. What would you tell him coming out of spring ball? What was the message to him then?
Well, one, I think he just, again, had to get more confidence in what we were doing. And it's amazing when a young man leaves his freshman year he goes through spring practice, and then you get him into two-a-days, how much more comfortable he becomes. And it just becomes, instead of having to think about it all the time, he's able to go play ball.
You see him, I think, probably 2 or 3 of your biggest hits on defense this year have been from him, and you don't normally think of big hits being the guy in the trenches. What's he got that enables him to get sort of those quick big hits?
Well, again, I think it's his athletic ability. When his speed and his size coming off the edge right there, when he hits with a guy, he normally makes it pop.
Coach, big stretch here for you guys. I mean, you had the first 6 games you had to buy. You look at the next 2 Friday nights having these home games and some of the teams you guys are going to be facing coming up at home. How big is this kind of stretch for you guys as a team?
Well, I think this is a huge one, obviously, because it's the next one and it's a conference game, so we got to have it. And to be honest with you, we hadn't really talked about anything after that. Yeah, it'll be a good. The next game will be good, obviously, because it's home, and then we get a break. Then you got to really get into the grind the last 5, hopefully 6 weeks.
Because with Kamale, Bo kind of said that's kind of the natural maturation process of a young guy. Is it cool to see that kind of, when it comes to Kamale, is it cool to see that kind of take place?
Yeah, I think any time as a coach, it's fun to watch those guys grow up. You take a young man like that, or that was a true freshman last year, and he did play some, and wasn't real comfortable doing it. And then, just like you said, he didn't have the best spring. Didn't do what we really was expecting, and then all at once he gets here in two-a-days, and he's the star of two-a-days, to be honest with you, and going right on into the season as far as the front 7 or the front 4 guys. I think he's playing as well or better than anybody.
Did you expect him to be one of those staples?
Oh yeah, I did. I thought he had the ability from what I'd seen. Just had to get it out of him.
What obviously didn't recruit him because you weren't here. So what just seeing him on film last year, where did you see that ability?
Yeah, just the film, and then every once in a while, I think you'd see it in spring practice. So you knew he had more ability than what we were getting. And then once we got it in two-a-days, like I said, it was amazing. It was like the light just came on, and there he was. Sure enough, that's more like it there now.
I know a lot of the young guys got some extra time during the bye week. Your young D line, how have they done? The guys that are redshirted.
I think they're really doing well. I think they're making our offensive line down there better. You put those guys down there, and then you got Deuce down there with them too.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got Deuce and Debo, and the other 2 guys, Moa and Hill. And you got some pretty good players down there. We got a couple good walk-ons down there too. So I think it's they will be better because of going down there and having to go against those guys every day. And going into spring practice, they'll be ready to try to hit somebody for real.
How high is Kamale's ceiling? I mean,
he's going to continue to get better. I think the more experience he has, and he just keeps getting more and more confidence. And the more confidence and the better he comprehends things, the more we'll be able to do with him. So I don't know what his ceiling's going to be. Hopefully we don't get there.